Right, welcome back. We're getting right into this conversation, and one of the things I'm starting to sense is actually a huge conversation. And so maybe today we're just starting the process, and this is something we'll have to revisit time and time again over time, and perhaps later just sort of focus on one particular area. But let's go straight to our tables. Tebogo Twin is at table number 18.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to try and be quick, but I have to say that it's loud. Long live. And you have the people's protector. We are behind you. We'll protect you all the way. A quick one. And Honorable Minister Radebe, how do we actually fight this westernization against all odds? Because, like Honanong, I'm addressing Gashoa, every time I listen to my president, whenever he connects with the language, the man will blow you away. And then we find that we have kind of, the system forces us to let him speak English. When you listen to a German president, all of them, the French, one thing is common. They have interpreters. They don't care. They will speak their language. I think we need to begin there. My economist is Zulu, he connects with the people, and then and everybody does. And then you'll have young people now laughing at the president because somebody has written a speech with long numbers and he has to say all these numbers in English. And that perception and mentality must die. We have to, the language issue is critical. Let us have all our government ministers from president downwards to speak our languages. If you don't understand, we create more jobs. Art and culture, there are interpreters there. Interpreters are out there who know how to interpret. Finish and done. Let me stop there before.
Okay, thank you. Table number 10. Table number 10. We'll find Jane Dlamini. Table number 10, Jane Dlamini. Table number 10, Jane Dlamini.
Sanibona baba.
Yebo.
Nyamboza. Siyabonga baba ngoba nakusesiphinde sakubona. Esingako sifuna sibuye njalo fanele sibuye esikhala ngathi angisengidiniwe ukhala. Sengifuna kwenzeke. Sinezinto esizenzayo zokuthiwa ama-organization enatha wenziwe. Angasebenzi anganakwa. Nisithumele kumnyango lona nesithumela kona ithambo yobheka lapha nibona ukuthi nizophila kanjani. Ufika umnyango uvalwe ume khona. Siqina senze njani ngathi ngoba kukhona engakuthola ukuthi kwenzakalani baba. Hayi ukuthi ngiyalwa ngiyakhuluma namhlanje. Bese ngibuya kubaba ngiyabonga baba. Kuthi usicabangele nawe ngalo music wethu. Kodwa usesenkingeni ngoba kusadlalwa lona dodlalo. Lo wethu omqashi yombhaqanga awukho. Angakawuzwa lokuqala ukuthiwa kudlalwa lo 90%. Enaba udlalayo 90% basakhononda baba baso kanje kuthiwa sidlala u90% bakhashelweni. Batshele babuthi nabahluleka siyakwazi thina ukuyisakazela. Ngiyabonga.
Okay. All right, so a number of questions, and the last one talking about being sent. Okay, thanks everyone. The last one talking about being sent from pillar to post. Questions is written here, why is the government assisting some of our veterans but not getting us 90% of any assistance? Why play 90% of the same artists? Okay, and then the other questions. So if you just want to chip in as you've heard the questions.
You said short but comprehensive.
Yes, short and comprehensive.
Baba Mafel, it's good, it's nice. We've started on that path. There are different outfits who are getting all the cultures of our society together. Obviously, they have not ventured into the entire continent, but South Africa or South Africans, including those which have not been prominent in our society, Mapaka, Mambondo, and everybody else. So we have such outfits, and we hope to grow from there. But your contribution would be important as well to ensure that we move forward. On the issue of westernization, again, it is about the development of our languages. Pan-SALB is for that. And one of the things we've said is that English and Afrikaans have been developed over a period of time. That's why they are where they are today. So for us, we'd have to enforce development of languages. As an example, the National English Literary Museum, for instance, is in the Eastern Cape. And we've said to our officials that you can't have the development of English there in the Eastern Cape, but not isiXhosa. So from now onwards, you will have to find a way of ensuring that that museum also serves isiXhosa as a language. It is about development, but we must be careful that we need to be, for now, we need to be accessible to everybody. Whilst we develop languages, it shouldn't be for separate developments, even for those languages, as different African languages. Develop them, but find a way of interaction of all the languages. Thank you very much.
Okay, Simphiwe, I'm going to come to you because you've been quiet a little bit. If you just want to comment on some of the things that you've heard that you'd like to share.
Okay, so on the issue of westernization, in South Africa we do have quite a problem with that. I think it stems from us not understanding the role of arts and culture in humanizing us as a people. And even if you go outside of South Africa and into the rest of the continent, it is possible that the reason why the AU's work has been so slow, and now currently the AU's work has been so slow, is the fact that we do not utilize the arts and culture as a tool to unify us as people across the continent. Which is why I had made the plea that perhaps if we looked at a cross-pollination of cultures across the continent, where we would lobby the different governments to create quota systems, not just of their local music in the different countries, but of African music and movies. And we can even look into the fashion. There are so many, and books as well, that there are so many options that we can look at from arts and culture that we could then use to introduce ourselves to each other, because that's the one biggest problem. We do not know each other. We do not see each other as kin, as people that are the same, and therefore it becomes then difficult for us to think of doing business with each other, because we are not familiar with each other, which is why people on the continent would rather go to China to get to give tenders for railways to be built on the continent, because they have no idea that perhaps in South Africa we can do that as well. So there is a need for that strong cross-pollination of cultures for us to realize unity on the continent.
Deputy Minister?
I would also like to say, to show that the government is serious about language, we are sponsoring 15 universities where students want to take to do language. So that is encouraging, and we got many, so we're giving them bursaries because we're serious about the issue of indigenous language.
Professor Sonyika, you started this conversation about being too precious with language and that we shouldn't get stuck on this. One of the challenges that we have on the continent is that in each country there are 100 languages, even before we start talking about across the continent. Is there an argument about, because right now we're having this conversation, but half the continent is excluded because they're French speaking. And we don't know what's going on in the French part of the continent. Francophone part of the continent, I think, try harder to actually learn English than we do learn French. Can we not borrow these languages in the interim as we develop our own to try and learn about each other, so that if at school maybe it's compulsory to learn English and French right across the continent, as a starting point. Is there an argument for that? I know that they're colonial languages, but they're a vehicle that we can use in the short term, maybe.
Well, my position has been made very clear many, many decades past, and that is that what we inherited, the colonial languages, is not altogether a disaster in the sense that it's enabled many nations within Africa to come together and speak to one another, to create and be understandable by one another, on a far more larger scale, which, for instance, the Yoruba were trying to speak to, the Zulu, the Twi, the Ewi, etc., etc. And we adopted, when we formed the Union of Writers of the African Peoples, we adopted a policy of reserving the right to whatever we write to African publishers, and also adopted a policy of trying to create one common language for everybody, an African language that's in addition to the normal, traditional indigenous languages and even the colonial languages. And our research led us to recommend Kiswahili. And we did take that policy of trying to adopt the policy of trying to create a publishing house, an African publishing house, which would translate into and from Kiswahili. So there are policies which can counter or augment which can counter the deleterious effect of using colonial languages. It is too late now to say we'll destroy all colonial languages. It's as ridiculous as trying to destroy all indigenous languages. And so, for me, it hasn't been a disaster in the sense that it means of countering that heritage, whether we like it or not. But very quickly, I also would like to answer a practical, physical question which was posed over there, and that there is actually in the Republic of Benin, at the border with Nigeria, there is actually a response to the question you asked. The creation, I think in promulgator of the idea calls it the Renaissance, African Renaissance village. It's called in Yoruba Igbale Aye, because this protagonist believes that spot contains evidence of the origin of humanity in that place. And it's gone to elaborate lengths to involve African heads of states, even from the Caribbean, so that each nation has its own headquarters, shall we say, there, cultural headquarters. The master plan has gone very far, but it lacks the funds to actually make it happen. In the meantime, however, there's technology. There is a village actually called the cinema. That village simply demands that we put the right things inside it. And the cinema also crosses boundaries with its use of images and so on. African cinema began rather poorly, and this goes to the issue of language. In this particular case, you had this horrible word called Nollywood, then you went on to Gollywood for Ghana, then Hillywood for this. I don't know what the South African one is going to be. And sometimes the naming conditions, just as language conditions, the naming can condition what we put in that technology and what we take out of it. So that is where the discourse on cultural material, heritage, the critical approach to heritage, arts, etc., is so important.
Okay. Let's go back to our tables. Arthur Mafukate. Table number 4.
It's a bit too late. The minister said most of the things that I wanted to say. Maybe you gave him my paper. I'm worried about that. But okay, let me just add to the young man there. I think sometimes also when we educate our children, we need to also take a radical approach, because there's something that we also are missing. You look at an iPhone and you think this iPhone was made by products that come from America or from China or from wherever. But if we look at it clearly, the mineral resources are coming from Africa. Africa is not as low as we all think, because you were saying we are rebuilding Africa, we need to just, if we have to, radically reclaim what's ours, go fetch what's ours, because of most of these things were stolen from Africa. Everything, from your computer to everything, the mineral resources that are used there, they are from Africa. And I think it's another education that we need to teach our kids to understand that most of these things are coming from here. The BMW that you're driving, the seats, where are those seats made? People don't even know that. Yes, we can talk about all the literature stuff and whatever, shift the focus, but our kids need to know that we do own these resources and we need to protect them. Because when an African leader is protecting this, they are always said to be corrupt. But this is what belongs to you. And we are being taught that everything is corrupt, corrupt, corrupt. Why are all African leaders the only ones that are corrupt? You can't tell me the whole world has only got corrupt leaders in Africa. It's impossible. Our kids need to understand that Africa is not corrupt. Things were stolen from Africa, and we need to protect those. Thank you.
Okay, all right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll answer that question. And perhaps we need to be self-critical as well with some of the things that have gone on, but we'll get an answer from our panel after this. Stay with us.